Fantastic Plastic have been going for quite a few years now. I got their Nell from Battle Beyond the Stars, I don't know, 7, 8, maybe 9 years ago. So they've been going for at least as long as that. And occasionally I pop onto their website and just see what they've got to offer. I've had, not that long ago, I did one of their Flash Gordon spacecraft from the 30s. They have a very good range of vehicles. I mean, they have a whole section on experimental or concept real world craft, and they've got a large science fiction section, and it's quite an eclectic mix of things. And there's loads of craft on there that I'd like to get one day. And one of them has been the Moonhopper from UFO. And every time I go on their website, and this is going back at least 2 years, every time I go on their website, this is always out of stock. And to the point where I never expect it to be in stock. I'm just scrolling down. Everything's alphabetical, so I start at the top and I scroll down. But then a couple of weeks ago, suddenly it's back in stock, and it's like, good grief, it's in stock. I must order. So yeah, here we go. This is the unboxing for it. Very pleased for it to have arrived. I'll talk more about the craft as we go through the build. I don't know how all this is going to go. The framework affair for the legs. All right. So, and also moderate to experienced modelers. All right. So this is the unboxing. Let's see what we've got. Might have to put the camera down. No, I think I'll be all right. No, hang on 1 second. Right. So, what have we got? That looks to be the body. And yeah, I would have preferred if all the legs were brass, but they're not, obviously. This is interesting. These are the remains of support lugs, aren't they, from 3D printing? Aha. Right, so, yeah, this is it looks like it's a 3D printed kit. Maybe this is why it's been out of stock for so long. The kit has been repurposed and redone as a 3D printed kit. Yeah, that's what's going on, isn't it? Oh, hang on. I take it back. There is metal parts, or there are metal parts. Oh, good, good. I don't know if it's a mix of both. That this is these bits, you know, hold all the strength, and the rest are cosmetic. I'm going to find that one out. I think that's all we've got. So yeah, same sort of instruction sheet as the previous ones. Yeah, look, 9.5 centimeter steel rod. So the steel rod. So the steel rod are like the horizontals, and then the plastic takes the weight. Oh, this is going to be fun. All right. And that's decal placement. The decals are always excellent. Here they are. Are always excellent. Actually, are these decals? They feel raised. I don't think these are decals. I think these are stickers. Let me just have a look again. The decals are ALPS printed, which means they're very thin and fragile. We highly recommend that you coat them with... Oh, they are decals. All right. So, how complex a build is this going to be? It's talking as if it is still resin, but That looks 3D printed to me. Maybe the body. No, that's too light to be resin, unless it's hollow cast resin. That's too light. All right, let's get him out the wrappings and let's have a closer look at what's going on. Okay, so what we've got is the main shape, which is hollow cast resin, as you can hear. Bit of cleanup needed here. Look, all along here, up along there. That's a bit of an ouch one there. All right, I'm going to have to get the old wet and dry out before I do anything and get rid of all that, because they are problematical. All right, so that's the main body. And yeah, look here, to remove 3D printed supports easily. Everything that's in this bag is 3D printed. I guess this is the modern way now, but this is a nice hybrid of a kit. We've got old school resin with new school 3D printed. All right, so first thing I've got to do is clean that up and then remove, yeah, the support rods that are around there. All right, what I'm not looking forward to, I've had a brief read of the instructions. So it looks like I've got to slide a steel rod. Basically, I've got to drill a hole through there, which comes out there. And then I've got to put that rod, do it on the other side, drill divot into receptor and glue another steel rod into place. Repeat 4 times. That's that circle there. And then I've got to have the rods come out and join each other, and also incorporate the legs as well. Yeah, I don't know how successful this is going to be, because this is basically what you get once you've done that. I would have preferred it if some of the metal was actually on the load-bearing legs, but they're not. It's the 3D printed legs are going to take everything. So I'll just take it easy, go one step at a time. All right, I mean, the first thing you've got to do is just put that detail piece in the bottom. That's nice and easy. But all this, I'll just take my time. I don't want to cock it up. But first things first, let's clean all this up. So everything's cleaned up, but there was an issue with me not realizing just how paper thin the resin is in the cockpit areas, and there was a little blob of resin in that corner, and the thing just split, giving me a gap. So I've got green stuff in there, and there's a bit of green stuff down in there because there already was a split there. But that's cleaned up, and I've moved on, and I've moved to the attaching the legs, and it's at this point I was seriously getting worried, because, as I say, the only metal is for the horizontal struts. The actual legs themselves, I think originally would have been resin, but they're not. They are 3D printed and quite a soft, bendy plastic. All right, so that's concern number 1. Concern number 2 is just how you go about it, because the instructions have it that you cut this steel rod to 9.5 centimeters. They're just over 10 centimeters each. Cut it to 9.5. Drill the 2 holes, put it in there, and then another piece of rod you have to cut to a certain size, and you have it come out of there and across, and then you put the leg on. Well, there's too much in the way of play there. There's too much that could go wrong. So what I did first was stick this rear leg on, and the problem I have there, and the worry I had, is the contact point is negligible at best there, and it's just glued there. There's no recess for it at all. All right, so that was a bit of concern. Also, the super glue didn't take straight away. So once I'd left that a long time to dry, I then put the rod in and then glued this one. Now, it's worked fine here. By the way, these little recessed areas on the 3D prints aren't that good, so I drilled them out a little bit more. So that fits in there fine. It doesn't fit fine there. I've got to kind of like push that up, try and get that to latch in there and super glue that. And then the next stage is another vertical steel rod, goes from there to there, all right? And then you've got to put lots of different attachments and cross beams and stuff like that, all 3D printed. But my worry is this material is very bendy, and I thought once it's stood there, it's going to take all the weight, and either they're going to bow or the joins are going to go. And I was talking to my good friend Ian last night, who has a lot of experience in 3D printing, and he's like, well, that's not going to work. Especially if it's out in daylight, they're just going to soften and go bendy, and it's not going to work, which got me pretty down. But then we realised in UFO, well, in Captain Scarlet, where a variation on this craft was first seen, it jumps, all right? Hence the hopper term. In UFO, I guess to just make it more serious, because that was the whole remit of the show, a serious Jerry Anderson science fiction show, it flies along like so, but it hovers. So I feel a lot better about this, in that if I make a base for it with a clear rod, so it's up off the ground like so, I don't have to worry, number one, about the legs giving way in time. Number two, getting these all to match up, because as I say, the amount of play you have there, I can't see all four of them lining up absolutely straight. So that's the plan then. I've got to crack on, put the next rod in, and then start adding the extra bits. All right, it's quite a few days later since the last part, and quite a lot of swearing since the last part. And that's because I've gone ahead, done the next piece, which says to add 2 secondary 9.5 centimetre steel rods as shown. That's that bit down in there, right? Oh, sorry, down there. All right, done that. Then it says glue support receptors ×2 to the centre of the lower steel rods. All right. Now, luckily, whenever I make a model, I don't just do that. I think about why is that there, and then I look to the next stage. And I'm glad I did, because then it says add receptor piece to top of each landing leg angled at 45 degrees. Then glue 4 6 centimetre styrene rods into place as shown, like so. Trouble is, the kit doesn't come with any styrene rods, and I haven't got any. So I've had to halt and order some and wait for them to arrive, right? So that's caused a bit of a grumble. The other thing that has caused a bit of a grumble is these receptors, these tiny, tiny receptors. Basically, you've got a hole going all the way through, and on the side, see, this is why I've got it in a container, because I knew that was going to happen. So yeah, you've got a hole, and then, no, that's the hole going all the way through, and in the side, you've got a hole to take the styrene rod, all right? Problem though, and I think this is because this is a conversion from the old kit to one now with 3D printed parts. This is the spigot, the shaft that is meant to fit on. That, come on, get it round. That, there we go, will not fit over that. So okay, well that's annoying. So what I've done is I've cut that off, all right? And what I did, because I thought this isn't going to work, this is not boding well for how this is going. What I did is I got 2 of the receptors, super glued the styrene rod in, okay, so I had a long stick, if you like, then glued that on and then glued them on. And I had them much longer because I didn't want them to be short. Glued them in place, and then I've snipped them off there. All right, so that's one side down. I've done, and now I've got to do the other side. So I've calmed down a bit. All right, so I've just got to finish that bit off. Then it's like stick the ladder on, and then it's stick the feet on. Right, now the feet I'm happy about, because these are the feet. They do fit in there. Well, they will do. If I open that hole up a little bit, they will fit. And like I said before, I'm not that bothered about whether everything's going to be level, because it's going to be in a hover mode. All right, so it's a bit annoying. I've had to stop and wait, and now, you know, yeah, it's not going. I mean, I can deal with it, but it's not straightforward, which is frustrating. Okay, that's him all assembled, and I've got an old Tamiya pot paint. Is just the right height to just take the feet off the ground. So that's going to take the weight while I'm assembling it. Working on it. Yeah, so he's all assembled. I've just on the back stuck the ladder and the engines on. So we're ready for paint now. Let's see how she looks. Well, she's looking a bit more solid with the grey primer on, but the grey primer has revealed a few blemishes that I still need to attend to, and one issue that I hadn't spotted at all. Yeah, that green stuff really didn't work. The split is still there, so I think what I'm going to do, rather than try and putty it again, I'm going to put a strip of the very thin plastic strip. Luckily, I've got lots of that in a pack somewhere, and I'm just going to put that down in each corner. It will define the window area a bit more, I think, as well. So once I've done that, I'll prime again, and then I'll put the top coat on, and that's when I will return. All right, so that's the blemishes dealt with, and then I got my thinnest round rod that I had, and I put them down the 3 joints where the surfaces meet, just to cover up that imperfection and tidy things up. It's not accurate to the actual model, but this whole area is going to be black, so hopefully it's not going to be that noticeable. Next thing to do then is a coat of white primer, just to cover everything back up again, and then I've got to think about what the main colour is going to be. And it could be, back in 1969, that it was just regular white primer. Maybe it was. For my actual physical reference material that I've got, the best reference photos I've got of the Moonmobile is from the Japanese Supervisual Town MOOC book, which is worth seeking out. Tons of very rare photos, very rare, but very often very small. And the reference photos I've got are these, which come in this fold out, which is at the back of the magazine. So that's a good, there's some good reference shots there, albeit rather small. My best reference photo, and unfortunately there's only the one side, is from this edition of Sci-Fi and Fantasy Effects magazine, special collector's issue, which was devoted to UFO, and you can see this copy is rather beat up, and that's because I would read it an awful lot many years ago. I bookmarked it with a pen where it was supposed to go, and where we're going is here, because here you get this terrifically large photo. All right, and you can see from that it's a grubby old ship, which I always like doing, and yeah, not pristine in the slightest, but still no real clue as to what shade of white that is. What I've decided to do is, because this is a Jerry Anderson moon and a Jerry Anderson moon base, what I'm going to do for the top coat will be from his other moon base, Space 1999. I'm going to be using the colour that was used for the Eagles on Moonbase Alpha, for diamond white. So I'll come back once everything's been primed, we've got a coat of this on, and we'll see how it looks. Flaring out like mad, but there we go. That's the white on. Now I'm going to leave this a day, maybe 2 days, for that paint to totally go off and set, because the next step will be to mask off the cockpit areas, because I'm going to be spraying them black rather than hand painting them. So yeah, I want the white to be completely hard before I put masking tape on it. Well, with the white and the black and the metallics, it's all looking very monochrome, but it's decals next, and that's hopefully is going to break things up a bit. Well, this is curious. The instructions say that the decals are very thin and fragile, and that they highly recommend that you coat them with microscale liquid decal film or a similar product. Well, I've got microset, and so yeah, prepared with that. I went in coating each area with the microset first, and then applying the decals. But no, they were fine. They weren't fragile or thin at all. I've had far worse decals, but the decal set, much like you get with a lot of small company kits, is I guess as a cost cutting exercise, the whole sheet is one big decal. If you were to say cut this out all the way around quite wide, you'll get all that carrier film with it. All right. So the case was cutting each one out as near to the actual decal as possible. Right. Another curiosity is that you're given extras. All right. And the other curiosity is these numbers, like the 11, the 9, the 14, that green arrow, are nowhere to be seen on here, right? Another curiosity is that if I bring in the photo of the studio model, I'm guessing there's no red decal for going around that thruster and whatever the heck that is, because you have to cut the decal out, you would have to cut the inside out as well to get that to slip over. So they're not included, all right? What they do have, though, and this is rather odd, is you have this, which initially when I saw it, I thought, oh, it's one of them, but it's not. It's far too big. And the decal instructions have it that you put it up on the top, like so, which is what I've done. You have a choice of numbers. So I've chosen number 5, and some of the decals, like you can see here, are too big. So I've just got to trim that. All right. The other thing that I've learned from putting the decals on is that the model isn't strictly accurate. See this shape here, right, which is just to the left of where that slope comes down of the ball. And just in front of it, you've got a black line. And there, when the ball reaches the tube, you've got the red line. Well, on the model, that shape, whatever it is far too far forward. So I've had to put the black line much further forward than it should be. But so all these things taken into consideration, and the fact you never see a number 5, my Moonmobile is just a different Moonmobile with slightly different markings. So next up is seal all this with some matte varnish, and then we're going to be looking at weathering. looking slightly different because I've bought myself a light box with funds garnered from my lovely Patreon folk. Thank you, lovely Patreon folk. So yeah, this is my very first go on it, and I just gave it a creamy background so you could see the Moonmobile a bit better. So yeah, the matte varnish has been applied, so it's weathering next. Just wanted to point out something. The decals, the instructions don't say you actually do get decals for the window. So I've put the windows in. All right. So yeah, next step, because the matte varnish is matte, it's dulled down the metallics far too much. So I've got to go back in and repaint those, and then we'll be looking at getting it dirty. Okay, so the weathering comes via a Flory Models weathering wash grey, which I've used before on a couple of Space 1999 craft. And basically what it is, it's a grey coloured chalky wash. And what you do is you paint it on, you just splosh it on. You can see here, I'm doing the underside and the back, and the front and back of these bits, and a bit of the underside. You just slop it on, slosh it on, wait 30 minutes, and then with, it says use a cloth, but I just use cotton buds dipped in water. You just remove it and take off as much as you want. From past experience, you might have seen when I've used this before, I've had a problem where it's reacted to decals before. So you can see here around that 5, I've gone near the 5, but I haven't gone over it, okay? Just in case, this is all sealed with matte varnish, but just to be on the safe side. So this has been on for 15 minutes. I've got to wait another 15 minutes and then wipe all that off. Once that's done, I'll move on and finish it off, and I'll come back with the Moonmobile done. All right, and there we are done. I've dirtied it down and weathered it more than the studio model appeared to be, but I quite like it like this. I figure this is like the workhorse of Moonbase, and wanted to represent that. So there we go, all done. I'm very pleased with these cockpit windows. I'm just wondering whether I should put some gloss varnish over them or not. So there we go, all done. There were a few challenges to it, but as you can see, he's standing up unassisted, although I have got a stand for him that I've made. As is customary when I do a craft, I try to find other vehicles that I've got in the same scale that I can put alongside to do a compare and contrast. So yeah, one last time I'll come back with a compare and contrast. I thought I'd show you the quick and easy base I made for it. This little slice of lunar surface is there, okay? I thought I already had a 1/72 scale UFO model, Moonbase's lunar module, but when you see the two alongside each other, no, especially with the size of the hatch at the back here, there's no way. This is more 144th, I would have said, than 1/72, so scrap that idea. So this is the only 1/72 scale model from UFO I have at the moment. So if we go from the Moonbase of 1980 forward 19 years to Moonbase Alpha in Space 1999, I've got something that is roughly 1/72 scale. It's a tad small, I think. If you know, can you tell me in the comments? It looks roughly all right, but if it is, this is much bigger than I thought it would be. All right, and quite tall when they're sat alongside each other in a garage somewhere. All right, and now if I move him up, him out. The other vehicle I have, it is 1/72nd scale, looking incredibly small alongside the Moommobile, is one of the tanks. This is the old Uncle kit. And yeah, if you put them all alongside each other, he really does look rather titchy. And in both cases, the lunar module, a Moommobile, really does look quite tall, doesn't it? Anyway, that's it. That's us done. I hope you enjoyed this little trip to 1980 and for a bit of UFO hardware. It'd be really nice if I could get another one sometime, because it is one of my favourite TV shows, and it is my favourite Jerry Anderson show. So thanks for watching, and see you soon.